Hello my friends, welcome to the metal shop. Today we are mounting the hood, or fitting the hood. I don't know if I'm actually going to drill and get that set. Trying to think where I left off. We got the roll bar completed. It's not perfect. These grommets are going to cover up a lot of my sins. This is where the hole was drilled originally. I had to keep moving it forward to get it to line up. So the grommet here is going to have to be cut, and it's just going to kind of fill this excess space. Anyway, and you can see some overspray here I've just touched up because the thing got so badly scun up trying to go in there. And let me just say, mounting this leg here, impossible with the body installed. I had to have my son, thankfully, he's like 6'1", 6'2", pushing 200 pounds, big, strong kid. I had him lift up on the rear end so that I could snake that piece in there. You can just see it there. There it is, right there. It bolts here to the shock tower. I have fixed up the back side of the holes there. Can you see that? You see the hole here is too big where it comes through. Again, I ended up having to move the hole over, and down. So I've glued a piece of fiberglass, nicely done, piece of fiberglass behind it just to plug up that hole. I also did it here where I had to slot it for the screw there, for the bolt to go through. Now, I found the issue with that bolt, and I don't know if I made you guys aware of this or not, but the Street Beast here, if you look, see that gap? That's not supposed to be there. The body's supposed to sit flat on the frame. The frame is here, body's supposed to sit flat on it. And I realize we're gonna run into issues here when it comes time to mount the door strike. There's a big gap here. You can see that. There's my finger in that gap. That gap's not supposed to be here. It's supposed to sit flush. Remember the problem with the wheel arch? Well, I sure would love to have that inch back. That's what she said. You know, we dropped down the whole body an inch if it sat flush on the frame there like it was supposed to. You know, we're 1 inch closer to, I mean, it's 3.5 inches right now. I'd like it to be an inch and a half, you know? And I don't know if I'm ever going to get there. It is what it is. So I got this done. I have the holes drilled. I don't know if you can see through to the daylight there. There we go. Anyway, I have drilled through there for the striker plate, which mounts thusly and fits here, and it fits here behind the door sill, and you can, you're going to drill and mount the striker through there. I got that done. I got the battery mounted here. That wasn't really such a huge deal. Just by happy coincidence, I left just barely enough room for this cover here, which is going to cover up for the rear quick jack bumperettes. I may have to notch it just a tiny little bit in there. And I have the wiring harness coming through, and I've got my cables run. That was another tricky thing here. I ran cables through the frame rails. Right there. Sorry, terrible camera work. On both sides, not realizing I still have to drill those for those striker plates. So what I did was I had a piece of steel. I can go over here onto the other side. I had this, which I was able to slide in to that frame rail, push the wiring harness out of the way, and then leave this in place. So it was protection. I did it first on top like this, laying right on top of the wires, drill down through, and then push them to the side so that I could get through. Much more difficult on this side because I have the rear wiring harness goes through the frame rail, and I ran the battery cable from the front to the back. So anyway, we got that done. I left them unbolted because I still need to lift up the body so I can glue the firewall. You're supposed to fiberglass it along this joint. Here, I'll show you on that side. That whole joint gets fiberglassed basically all the way up. And you're supposed to do it over, and they say, oh, just remove the dash and fiberglass that there. Yeah, right. So I'm going to fiberglass all the way up, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some super panel bond adhesive, and luckily, like I said, I can lift the body up a little bit. I'm going to squeegee in some, with a caulking gun, some super panel bond adhesive when I'm ready, and drop the body down for that last time. Anyway, got a bunch done. Sorry I haven't filmed much, but it honestly hasn't been super exciting. So, according to the Fantastic Street Beasts manual, and that's sarcasm, we are doing the hood. So first things first, you put the hood, first thing first, you mark the hood where the pads are. See those mounting pads right there? You transfer that to, it's hardly scientific. It's hardly, even basic engineering, their instructions. You transfer those marks to the front, and then you transfer the marks onto the body itself. Let's stand by. I've got one more step that we got to get done. All right, so not skipping ahead. We transfer the marks from the hinge pads onto the top of the hood. Then we place the hood on the car using cut-off paint sticks. And this actually works pretty well because the paint stick is about 1/8 of an inch or 3/16 of an inch. And if you wedge those paint sticks in there around, you get your gaps uniform, and then you could transfer the marks from the hood onto the body, which you can see here that I have already done. The blue tape is just on the outside of those marks. Again, this is just for demonstration purposes. I've already done that. That's why my paint sticks are falling out and don't appear. But it really did work very well when I did it the first time. Stand by, we're going to remove the next thing that we do is we're going to clamp the hinge. There's a bar in there, and actually I think I can show this to you through the grill opening. Tough to see. There's a mounting bar in there for the hood hinge, and you can see the clamp right there. What you're going to do is you're going to clamp the hinge to this bar, and we're going to drill 1/4 inch hole through this bar and through the hinge, one per hinge. That's it, 1/4 inch bolt. So you use your marks here and clamp, and we see that? It's tough to see, we're going upside down here. There. We clamp the hinge to that bar, and I made marks on it so that I can then take the hinge off and drill it. I'm going to drill the bar, and I'm going to drill the hinge separately. The hinge is to be mounted no more than 1/4 inch away from the underside of the body. So I already have that portion, that portion done. Cool. Got my holes drilled. You can see one there, see the other one there. And they say in the instructions, you may need to remove the radiator. And it's like, no, you know how hard that would be? It would have been easy to drill these holes without the body. But again, tough to line up without the body and then the hood in place to line those up. If these things were built to any kind of standards whatsoever, those holes would come drilled already and it would be easy for you. They also want you to drill a 1/4 inch hole, and then they want you to drill another one above and below it and easily just slot it out with a hand file so that you have a slot so that you can raise your hood up and down. I'm not going to do that. I am going to see how we do. If I have to slot that hole, I will. Probably, I guess no, you have to slot this, not the hinge itself. The hinge moving up and down isn't going to give you the adjustment that you want on the hood, I don't believe, versus this. So anyway, let's, I gotta get the hinges drilled and figure out where to drill the holes in the hinge so that it will match up where it needs to be on this bar here, this support here. I got a little bit of work to do. All right, so we did get both hinges mounted. I need some longer screws. I have 1/4 by 1.5 inches. I think I'm gonna need 2 inch. And I'd really prefer to use the nylock nuts here. And of course, I did end up slotting the hinge itself, not the bar. I reread the instructions, and of course that's what they said to do, which was nice because I did it on a vise. And I actually did just what they said. I drilled that a 1/4 inch hole on the top and on the bottom, and then I hogged it out with a Dremel to make a nice slot so that I could adjust those hinges up and down, which is going to be crucial when it comes time to adjust the hood. They said no closer than a 1/4 inch, so I made it so I could go all the way up to that 1/4 inch and then down, you know, another almost a 1/2 inch. So that's where I'm going to leave off for today. Maybe we'll get some more done tomorrow. All right, so can't remember exactly where we left off, but I mounted the hinges in place and loosely, tightly, snugly bolted them into place. And I was able, they say, the directions say to do it with a friend, but I was able to do it myself. I placed the hood on with all the paint stick spacers, and I was able to lift the hinge up to make some marks on the hood itself. And I must say, I'm really rather pleased with how it came out, because this is where it ended up. So that is going to be perfect. I mean, it could be a tad lower, I suppose, but with that's perfect. As far as I'm concerned, that's perfect. And on the other side as well, that one did end up a tad bit lower. I'll fudge something a little bit with these slots here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to drill, and I assume there's a metal plate in there because they want you to tap 1/4 inch 20 holes. And I'm gonna be super careful. We're gonna tape the drill bit so that we don't go through, because we're gonna have to go through the fiberglass and the metal that's in there. We're gonna be very careful not to punch through the other side. God forbid we made a hole, but you don't even really wanna, you don't even want that impact because you can mess up the fiberglass. I'd like to probably paint the underside of this hood, just this cutout here. I'm probably just gonna paint that black. And I also have to cut out the hood scoop. I purchased a rivet-on hood scoop for this. I don't know if it's going to work. This hood scoop is actually quite large. The one I purchased is quite large, but I don't think it's not going to quite cover the opening. I got to measure. Shell Valley makes a couple of different hood scoops with different measurements. I think they make one that's intended to go over the top of a cutoff hood scoop. The riveted-on one is much more period correct, as is everything with this car. But of course, that's yet another modification that's not easy, that's not simple to try and make your car look historically accurate. Anyway, I digress. Let's get those holes drilled and get these hinges mounted up. Cool. All right, so got the holes marked, drilled, and tapped. Instructions pretty good here. 1/8 inch pilot holes, followed by a 7/32 bit, which is a couple sizes down from 1/4 inch, and then use your 1/4 inch tap. It's pretty nice. They have, obviously there's a steel reinforcement here, and there's a piece of wood underneath, because the first hole I drilled, it went down and some wood chips came up. So it's pretty nice. They're thinking about you there, protecting the underside of that hood. Lots of grease on the tap, back and forth, back and forth. I will say this is some of the softest steel I've ever had to tap. It was not difficult at all, even being 2 sizes down from 1/4 inch. The threads went in nicely with the grease. Got them, just kind of checked out here with a bolt. I will use Loctite just because, like I said, that steel was pretty soft in there, and I assume that was on purpose for, just for tapping this. I got some more preparation to do to the hood. I'm not sure, but I think I'm going to have to cut out that scoop first. It'll be a lot easier to do before the hood is mounted on the car. So, yeah, we'll see. All right, so got the hood scoop rough cut. Sorry I didn't take you along for that ride. What I did was I drilled a series of holes, just a couple on the bottom. I tried to use a thin cut blade on the Dremel, and it actually worked really good. It was like a hot knife through butter, but I only had one blade and it broke pretty much instantly. What I decided to do kind of on the fly was stay way up from my line and here, and that way what I could do is I'm going to use the Dremel with the sanding drum, and I'm going to work my way back to it. Rather than, I mean, if you try and cut close to this line, you're just asking for problems. I mean, you're gonna go right through and be nasty and everything. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna use the Dremel right now with the sanding drum, and I'm gonna work my way back on this and try and get it looking nice. Like, this scoop can always come off. You know, I'm certainly not married to it. I'd rather have that rivet on scoop anyway. So let's see. All right. So there we are with the hood fitted, and it fits. Ish. It's kind of funny. It's a little bit ironic. I ran into the exact same problems that I ended up running into with the trunk, and I'll show you what that is on the trunk as well. You need a large gap here in the back, otherwise the lip of the trunk itself hits this lip here. Now that's probably something that could be fixed with a little bit of body work. Sanding that down just a little bit. It's like literally, it's like right here in through the center. Now I have it adjusted so that it opens freely, but you can see the gap. Otherwise, I'm happy with the gaps. And then you have this. Sorry, it's this corner. And that's, no amount of adjustment is going to take that out. That is the fiberglass part isn't quite square with the hole. Now, when this is latched, and there's weather stripping in there, I assume that this will take care of it. So we ran into the exact same thing with the hood. You see here, now the gap is fine. It's just there's no adjustment that's gonna change the shape of the hood. The hood fits in the hole, and I'm happy with the gaps. Now this will be fine when it's latched. The latch will hold this in place, and eventually the body will settle, the hood will settle, and they'll become, you know, they'll kind of enter some kind of homeostasis with each other. Like I said, I'm happy with the gaps. Overall, we did have to do that large gap in the front, otherwise the lips contacted each other. So I think, you know, it's just kind of inherent with the design of those, you know, those hidden hinges. That's just the way it goes. Let's do a quick walk around here. You can observe my mess and chaos and disorder here in the shop. So there, yeah, there's a pretty big gap, and also there's a drop off here, you know, the way the hood sits in there, and I'm not sure how I would go about raising that up. Possibly a shim on the hinge itself, possibly a washer or something on the back. The lower bolt would shim that up a little bit. I'm not sure. Save that for my body man. You saw at the sneak peek there that I just painted the underside of the hood. I just painted it black. Not sure if they're going to be body color or not, what I'm going to end up doing there. I was going to give you a nice reveal here of this tape, but I can see that this painter's tape is super duper going to fight me. Yeah, screw that. So anyway, we'll leave it there. And there's the installation of the hood on the Street Beasts Cobra. And like everything else, it's okay. Not spectacular, but, you know, it's all right. We can work with it. All right, my friends, take care out there. Be safe, as always. Practice your social distancing. Wash your hands. And use your hand sanitizer if you can't wash your hands. As always, my friends, take care. Give me a like. Give me a subscribe. Got your own YouTube channel. And you like my videos, please feel free to give me a shout out. All right, my friends, be well.